Rajana.
So from now on, it has been decreed by the head of state, everybody shall call me Rajana.
So singer.
Singer. Rajani singer.
Aha.
I am now officially Ugandan.
Very good.
And if anybody argues, we have TV footage for that as well.
Very good, very good.
This is my 59th country coming to. And there's a big community in Argentina. There's a huge community in Ecuador, the Caribbean. I was in Nigeria as well. There's a decent community there. It's a remarkable story.
Okay. How many are Philippines?
So Philippines, we used to have a large community there. Things changed, but you're looking close to around about 20,000 in the Philippines at one stage.
20,000.
Yeah.
Here we had more. We had 80,000.
Yeah.
But they were expelled by Idi Amin.
Yeah.
1972. But when we came, we brought them back. But the ones who came back were the rich ones.
It's do you mind if I be frank with you, Your Excellency?
Yes.
Yeah, I think, do you know the story of Uganda for us? Regardless of where you were in the world, if you're in the Caribbean, if you're in the islands in Philippines, or if you're in England, Idi Amin almost was the boogeyman for all of us. It was the first time in our collective history where you had somebody that was very visual in the way that he responded to people. And it sent shockwaves across. And it was one of the stories that inspired my own work. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the work that we do, but we built up a very large platform across the world, and it looks at the human experience behind identity in different markets. And because people of Indian origin, they have spread across, a lot of it was down to the British because of indentureship. We started to recognize that there's a big problem out there, because a lot of misconceptions were taking place in markets like Uganda, where people only knew one narrative. And the danger with one narrative is that it becomes a stereotype. And the danger of a stereotype that is often untrue. But if you don't challenge it, it's the only story that people remember. And so that's kind of what led us to do the work that we do. So we're pretty large. We teamed up with CNN recently.
So you were inspired by the negative example of Uganda?
No, I was inspired by the humanness of Uganda, because as much as we knew about the story of Idi Amin, you knew that there was a lot more happening there. The fact that you had yourself, the challenges that were taking place in the country, it was the people of Uganda that fought back. So Idi Amin was an example of the average Ugandan. He was an individual there.
He was actually part of the colonial system.
We know all about the colonial system. As a brief background, the reason for this series, it will go across CNN, it goes across India, it looks around the non-traditional partnerships as well. It's our eye on having a look at Uganda and where Uganda's heading to. I suppose the elephant in the room that we addressed so far, Your Excellency, was the story of Idi Amin and how it reshaped. What do you think Idi Amin represented to the youth of Uganda at his stage?
Idi Amin was an ignorant, a bit chauvinistic reactionary, because he looked at identity and he did not look at interests. If you looked at the interests of the 4 Indian families who were in my region, my area, plus 2 Arabs, there were only 6 in my sub-county in the 1940s, 1930s, 1950s. This small island of Indians and Arabs were very symbiotic with us, because they were doing what we were not doing, and we were doing what they were not doing, and we were exchanging. They were shopkeepers bringing items which we did not have, and we were farmers of livestock and crops, and these people were buying them from us and we were buying from them. So it was a very symbiotic relationship. At some stage, the colonial government, not in my area but in other parts of Uganda, they were causing some confusion by trying to give monopoly to Indians to gin cotton. Africans are not allowed to gin cotton. So there was some sort of movement in 1945, 1949 against that. But it was clear to we, the political strategists, that this was a maneuver by the British to just cause confusion. So it did not affect our views about the Indian immigrants. Indeed, some of the Indian immigrants were part of our resistance against colonialism, like Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi was in South Africa. He was a member of the African National Congress, was supporting, and even here we had Indians who were part of the resistance movement. Like in Kenya there was very active Goan called Gama Pinto. Gama Pinto, he was very, very active in supporting the anti-colonial movement. So at both economic and political level, the Indian people were really an addition to our efforts, not a subtraction or anything.
What changed? Because the moment that Idi Amin came in, with your own upbringing, you would have saw what community meant. Your idea of Ugandanness would have been togetherness, people working side by side, nobody taking more than anybody else. The moment Idi Amin came in, there was obviously this reaction to what national identity was. You were obviously a young man at that moment in time. What was it like for you?
Well, nothing changed. What happened was that Amin imposed himself on all of us, the indigenous Ugandans and those few immigrants. So we started fighting him. I was not young. I was 26. I had already left university. I was working in the government. So we took up arms against Idi Amin. People who took up arms against him were not Indians. It was us.
Yeah.
It was, in our case, it was the student movement. The student movement, which was nationalist and also Pan-Africanist. And remember, Amin was originally an agent of British interests. That's why Edward Heath recognized him immediately. Recognized the coup. While Africa was opposing, Edward Heath gave him diplomatic recognition. So we, the nationalists, the anti-colonialists, we could see that Idi Amin could not understand our aims, which were patriotism within Uganda, Pan-Africanism, and so we had to get rid of him. Now, in his desperation, because this was 71 when we started fighting him, then 72, that's when he lashed out at different groups, killing people from this tribe, killing people from that tribe. Then in 1972, he said he had a dream again about Asians that he should do. There was nothing that changed really. It was the continuous struggle of anti-colonialism. Because Idi Amin was part of the colonial army, was a sergeant in the colonial army. Just a bunch of idiots who were being used by the British. No ideology, nothing. They didn't understand our aims. That's why we fought him.
What does Ugandanness mean to you? Because you've done something that no other international leader has ever done before. You've embraced refugees. You brought them inside. You brought in different communities here. And that's obviously changed the very scope of how the world looks towards a country. What does it mean to you to be Ugandan then?
Well, Ugandanness has got essentially 2 layers or 3 layers. Layer number 1 are the indigenous tribes who are found here. And these indigenous tribes are not static. Even before colonialism, you would get waves of groups coming from the forest in Congo. They come and become part of the tribes of Uganda. You get groups from ancient Egypt through Ethiopia. They come and be part of Uganda. That's why you find that Uganda is, even before the coming of the Europeans, was already a confluence point for the groups in Africa. That's why you have here we have 2 groups, the Niger-Congo group, the Bantu, they have different linguistic, and then what we call the Nilo-Saharan, like the groups of Ethiopia and so on. You find them. So then so that's layer number 1 or layer number 2, because you have the originals, then you have the ones who come in from different parts of Africa.
Yeah.
And then you have now the Indians who are brought here as indentured workers, as you were saying. So they become part of us. And then you have the investors, the rich people who come here because of business. They are all adding to the Ugandanness you're talking about.
I should have TM'd Ugandanness, shouldn't I? It's the idea makes sense because you've got this country that people from across the globe are coming to, but there's obviously big misconceptions there as well. With yourself here, I can see, how are you keeping the economy stable? And how do we ensure that we don't see another rise of the likes of Idi Amin coming into a society like here?
No, we clarify. You see, the economists helped us to understand this. They talk of GDP and GNP. Gross domestic product means production on our land by everybody who comes and puts his money here. GNP is gross national product. That is the production of our citizens, whether here or abroad. Every intelligent person knows that GDP is what grows the economies. If you look at China, you may find that the GDP is much bigger than the GNP. The investments by everybody who invested in China, I have not checked, but you can check and you find that it's much larger than the GNP, the investment by the Chinese themselves alone, either within China or outside. So countries which have that broadness prosper, and the ones which try to be narrow, like Nazi Germany, they collapse. That's how Oppenheimer, the Jew who invented the nuclear bomb, was originally German, but because he was discriminated as a Jew, he went and built the bomb for the Americans to the destruction of the Germans and the Japanese. So chauvinism is a big mistake. Yes, identity is important because we need a core identity, but this identity should not resist absorption, should not resist enrichment of itself.
I suppose on that note of enrichment, one thing that you did that was of particular interest around the world was at the time that you had come in, you made a concerted effort to go out there to the communities and re-invite them back into Uganda, the modern day Ugandanness as such. And you brought in economic policies to demonstrate that. So it wasn't just words, but you backed it with action.
We give back it's just ignorance and laziness. Because these Indians had 4,000 literal miserable properties, small shops, a few factories. These are the ones Idi Amin was taking over. Our question to Idi Amin, why do you care about these 4,000 miserable literal properties of Indians? Why don't you create your own properties? Why do you envy these? So we give back all these literal miserable properties to the Indians. You Indians, you come back and take all your literal properties. Some came, some did not come. But if you look at Kampala and Entebbe now, alone, you have got more than 1 million properties owned by mainly Ugandan, what they call Ugandan, the indigenous, the African. So why do you bother with these literal properties? You go and have your own. Uganda, Africa is a continent of underdeveloped opportunities. Why do you envy this opportunity which is here now, and when there are plenty more untapped?
What does it mean to be a Pan-Africanist? Because we hear yourself speak, and it is about bringing people together. It's about uniting for a cause and making a difference to the human experience of those people. By the same token, a lot of people are using it in another vise. It's about separation. And we see the likes of Julius Malema, for example, in South Africa. What does it mean to be an African on your side, Yax?
It starts with 3 words. If you are not highly intelligent, at least understand 3 words.
I'll try.
Number 1, prosperity. How can a family, forget about the nation, even start with the family. How can a family, how can a community, how can a country be prosperous? You cannot be prosperous through begging. If you beg, somebody helps you today, tomorrow he will not help you. So the only way you can be prosperous is through production of a good or a service and selling it. So I'm not a beggar. I am by nature, by heritage, a producer of goods, and some of my neighbors are producers of services. In my case, I am a cattleman. I'm a man of cows from ancient times. So that means I produce milk, I produce what you call cheese, I produce beef. I'm not like Indians who don't eat beef.
I was noticing a hesitation there. No, I'll join you. I'll join you with a steak, Your Excellency.
I'm not Indians who don't eat beef. So I produce these cattle products. The problem I have is that my tribesmates produce the same products like me. They also have cows. I have cows, they have cows. They have bananas, I also have bananas. Because we produce cows and bananas mainly. So they can't buy from me, I cannot buy from them. So the people who buy my milk and my beef and are these fat men of Kampala, like this fat one here.
You need to go on a diet now.
They're the ones who buy my milk, who buy my beef, who buy my bananas. That's how I become prosperous. So when you hear that Museveni has built a good house, or he has got a good car, or he's sending his grandchildren to good schools, it is because of that fat man there. He's the one who buys my product, and I get money, and I solve my problems. So that's why I love Uganda more. I care about my tribe, but I love Uganda most because it's Uganda that can help me, it can help support my prosperity. So that is layer number one. That's why I cannot accept any form of sectarianism, of tribe, of religion, because it goes against my interests, against my prosperity. There's no way my family, there's no way my area, because remember, even my neighbors also have the same issue like me, same product. So we need Uganda for our prosperity. My tribal area. When we wake up and start producing more and more, we find that Uganda is not enough. Uganda is not big enough market to absorb our products, to sustainably support our prosperity. That's why we need Africa. Whether we like it or not, we need it for our prosperity. So this is word number one. If you are talking about prosperity, you need Uganda. That's why we say patriotism. You must love Uganda. Patriotism, fatherland. But patriotism is not enough. You need Pan-African. You need it. But secondly, so here the word to answer to help the not so clever people is to tell them that there is no way you can be prosperous if you do not maximize unity within the group which you are lucky to have. If you happen to have a group like India, like what, this is a good opportunity for you. Those different groups within India, Bengali, you need them for your prosperity. And if you are lucky to have them, please don't mishandle them. Don't because you do so to your own detriment. Now, but secondly, the issue of security. How can you have strategic security? How can you guard yourself against predators in the world?
Are we still talking about the fat man, or?
No, this one now he has done his work because he has supported he has supported the prosperity with his pocket, his purchasing power. But now, all of us, and including him, we need to be secure. So how can we have security in this turbulent world? Uganda alone may not be able to stand up alone. That's why we need regional effort to be able to guard ourselves against predators in the world. And that's why, for instance, in East Africa, we talk of the East African Federation. It's our long-term goal. We've been our elders were pursuing it, and we're also pursuing it. Because East Africa united politically, apart from economic integration, because the fat man and the other fat men in Kenya and other places, we capture them through economic integration, the common market of East Africa, the common market of Africa. But that is on the side of the economy. How about the side of security? You need an arrangement where you aggregate your strength and we are able to defend ourselves. And that's why in some cases you may have to look at political integration, like the Federation of East Africa. Like when Tanganyika and Zanzibar united and formed Tanzania, this was a big step. There were two colonies, Zanzibar, Tanganyika, they formed Tanzania. It's now there. It's now more viable than either of them. And it has solved some issues, the borders, sharing the sea, all those issues that would come up if they were separate. So therefore, that's our second aim, strategic security. That's why we talk of Pan-Africanism, to deal with the strategic security. But then finally, and we say, by the way, we are lucky. We in Africa, we are 1.5 billion now, and our continent is so huge. It is 12 times the size of India. So you can put India in Africa 12 times, and all the Indians would fit there. So the population is now growing. It will be 2.5 billion in the next 30 years. And fortunately, there are really essentially four groups. They are what we call the Niger Congo, the ones I told you, the Bantus here, all the way to South Africa, and then the West African group called Kwa, Southern West Africa. These are called the Niger Congo. They are dialects which are linked, which are from the same root. Then you have the Nilo-Saharan, the ones I told you about, like the Somalis, like the Southern Ethiopians, Oromo, like the ancient Egyptians. Those are part of the Nilo-Saharan, and some groups in northern Uganda. And then you have the Afro-Asiatic. These are the Arabs and some groups in northern Ethiopia, Amhara, Tigray. Those are Semitic, really, Semitic people. And then finally, you have a small group in South Africa called the Khoisan.
Yeah.
They are called Bushmen. So these 1.5 billion people are divided into just those 4 groups, which are similar or linked. And we are lucky, we also have to have a de-tribalized dialect called Swahili, which links us, which we can all use. We use it in East Africa here and in Central Africa. So we have 2 challenges to survive. Number 1, prosperity. Number 2, strategic security. But fortunately, we have fraternity of either similarity or linkage. So we say, why don't we use this to deal with the other 2, to support our prosperity, support our strategic security. That's what Pan-Africanism means. It means to deal with the prosperity of the African people, to deal with their strategic security, taking advantage of the similarities and linkages among the African people.
Was there a moment in your life, because the way that you think is very inclusive and it's very evident, every answer that you've given is about unity, bringing people together, having a look at how we can benefit one another.
But unity around some similarity, because this is the problem they have, like in Europe. When they try to form the European Union, then you have Romanians, then you have Germans, then you have English, all insisting on their identity. You run into problems. That's how they... So you must have... For us, we are lucky, because first of all, the groups linked, but we are lucky to also have Swahili, a language which is not contested, a language which doesn't belong to anybody.
Saying it's a common denominator amongst people.
Yes.
That you can connect in. Have you...
Because like in India, you used to have those problems of language. You remember the issue of Hindi.
It's slightly before my time, Your Excellency, but...
Against, I think the other ones of southern India and so on, Kerala
yeah.
and Tamil, and there was some tension. But here we don't have that problem because of Swahili. Because Swahili is a dialect that came from all these dialects.
But I think you're being very humble, though, in all honesty, because it's your mindset that has allowed you to have a look at the world as it is rather than how you are. But that mindset has to be cultivated. Was there, when you look back at your younger self, was there a particular moment that you saw this idea of Uganda as this affiliation of people connecting together becoming more and more important?
No, I think from the beginning, I really had no problem, because, you see, the problem, people bring frictions among people are the parasites, those who are divorced from production. Because I was from a producing family, I was a cattle keeper, and would take our cows to the market. And who would buy our cows? It would not be people from the neighborhood, because the market was not organized in the neighborhood. Each one was self-sufficient.
Yeah.
Nobody was buying from anybody else. People who were buying our cows were from Kampala, from another tribe. They were the ones buying our cows. And at some stage, we had some whites. They were buying cows for the mines, for the copper mines. Copper mines had come up in the 1950s. There was a white man called Mr. Share. So, from the beginning, I could see my prosperity was linked with not my tribe, but with these other people. In some cases, identity can become an issue when it is mishandled, like in South Africa, when they were saying African can't vote, or like in the U.S., where they discriminate black people. But that's temporary. It shouldn't be such a... Once it is addressed, then you go to the deeper interests, because that's just another form of opportunism. Opportunists are the ones who use those, African blacks. But once you shut them up, you should go to the core.
Absolutely.
Core interests of the people, which are prosperity and security.
What do you define as a prosperous nation or as a prosperous community?
Should have enough food, and what I don't grow myself, I buy. So that means I need money. I need enough money to buy whatever I want to buy. I should have a good house so that I am protected from the weather. I should have medical care, treatment. I should have some easy way of moving, of locomotion. There are items you can 1, 2, 3, which make your life easier and enjoyable.
You must have been asked many questions from around the world. What's the one question you wish people would ask you?
No, me I answer any question if they ask me.
But is there something that you feel that there's a big misconception that people have? Because when I'm sitting in front of you, Your Excellency, alongside the fat man on my right hand side, I find something that's very incredibly human, the way that you come across, the way that you speak. It is about cohesion, and I understand that there's an economic model there, that you're saying, well, it's about also protecting one's assets. You should be trading with people. You should be finding ways of causes of similarities. But I find the story of Uganda as almost an epicenter of a story for what the world can learn from this country, is the fact that you've been able to bring people together. And I know that the economics are there, but you've been able to actually get people together as a society. What has been the secret to your success?
Well, I think really the biggest problem in the world is chauvinism. The chauvinists are a bunch of idiots, and they waste everybody's time. You know, when you say white, what do they call them? White extremists or something like that. I see them in the US. But who cares about those whites? If they come here, I just tell them to go to hell, because I don't need to be white. I don't need to. So wasting everybody's time. And that's how we had problems even with Muslims. Some of our Muslims, they picked some bad habits from the Middle East.
Wahhabism, yeah.
Yes, and they came here and said, Islamism, what? And I also talked to the president of Sudan, Bashir, because in Sudan also they had that movement of Islamic, they call them fundamentalists. So I told Bashir and these stupid boys who were talking nonsense, I said, you pharaohs, you know, they call a pig haram. Have you heard that word?
I have.
Haram, that haram is, I don't know what it means, whether it means unclean or something. So I told them, you pharaohs, I told Bashir, do you know that I have got a longer list of haram than you? He didn't know. So what do you mean? I said, in my tribe, I don't eat fish because fish is haram. In my tribe, I can't eat fish. I've never eaten fish. I don't eat chicken because I believe that if you eat chicken, you will be unstable. How can you eat a bird?
You've just put KFC out of business now. You do realise that. It's
How can you eat if you eat a bird, you will be unstable. I don't eat pigs for sure. I don't eat pigs. In the cattle tribes of Africa, the cattle tribes, they don't eat those things. I don't eat goat. I don't eat mutton. So I said my list of haram is much longer than yours. But the difference with African tribes, like for instance, for me, I'm from the savannah land. I'm not from the lake, Victoria Lake. But some of our tribes are from near the lake. So for them, they eat fish. They eat chicken. Now, the richness of the African culture is that you would have no prejudice against anybody. We would keep chicken for religious ceremony purposes, because we believed like the ancient Egyptians, ancient Romans, where you would slaughter the chicken and you look at the intestines, how they are arranged, then you know what God is planning.
Can we bring a chicken here?
we can try it. I think they call it divination, to divine. So we are keeping chicken for that, for religious. But our Kampala people, the people from the lake here, for them they would eat. So when this man comes, your friend from the lake, he comes, he says, you man, take that chicken and eat it. You give it to him. So our African tribes had a culture of live and let live. You are a bit different, but respect one another and cooperate. For instance, the people from Kampala would bring textiles from the coast. You buy the textiles. We had also indigenous textiles called back cloth. You buy those. So you cooperate where your interests coincide. Where you have difference, you let everybody do as he. So we are able to tell these Islamic extremists, don't waste our time. If somebody has eaten a pig, it has not caused him indigestion, leave him alone. You mind your own stomach. Don't. Yeah. So really we had no time. We just crushed them. And we went to Somalia, because in Somalia there was that nonsense there. So that we were kafiris. That we were kafiris I don't know what it means non-believers, because they had imported that nonsense from the Middle East. So we told them that Africa is our land. You go. If you are Kafiris, you go to your Arabs. Here, we respect everybody's heritage.
Well, what's interesting, because it's you, though. It's the power of personality. It's the power of His Excellency President Museveni that brings that in. What does the future look like in 2040? You have big plans for Uganda. How do you ensure that this continues?
But the views which I'm giving you are shared by many people. Like, there was one Catholic bishop in the early days of our system, when we had come into managing the whole country. There was a Catholic bishop who told me that, you brought these principles, because our principles are patriotism, Pan-Africanism, socio-economic transformation, and democracy. There are 4. So this bishop told me that, you brought these principles, but you don't know much about them. Me, the Catholic bishop, I know more about them than you. That's what he told me, Bishop Odongo. He was in Eastern Uganda. I said, why, Bishop? He said, before our time, during that time, whenever he would visit his Catholic diocese, he would find people seated, Catholics with Muslims, with their Muslim wear, sitting in front, together with the Catholics. Because he's a big man, he has come in the area, all the community leaders come. And Odongo told me he had never seen this in his life. And he was like in his late 70s. He said, I had never seen this. To see a Muslim sitting in front of the congregation of Catholics. So you can see that people have seen the advantage. I will never forget that word from the Archbishop, because he told me that I was talking about something I didn't know much about. that for him, he knows more about it because he has seen the results of that message.
What do you hope your legacy will be?
So the people have really absorbed this, and if anybody was trying to bring back nonsense, I'm sure
it wouldn't be tolerated.
Yes.
And what we'll do, we'll get a chicken, we'll dissect it, we'll check what the organs are saying, and that way we know by divinity.
Very good, very good.
Do you still have the farm, Your Excellency?
Oh, a big one. You ask this, they eat my cows, these ones.
We're pointing at you.
It's the big eater, this one, you can see.
It's been an absolute honor and a real privilege to be a friend of
you. So you are an Indian of where?
From the Philippine Islands. So we do karaoke singing.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't mind having the microphone in front of me, but I'm not chauvinistic, and I'm not big in that area.
And what tribe are you among the Indians? Because they are tribes.
That's an interesting question. So we're Sikhs, the Sikh community.
From Amritsar?
Yes.
From Amritsar?
Yes.
Our singers here, we are very famous as motor mechanics. All the garages were owned by singers. I don't know why. They are called singers.
Singers.
Mm.
Is that singing Sikhs or just singer?
No, I don't know. The African tribes have a way of Africanizing everything. If you come, like for instance, our Indians, my 4 Indians in my village, one was called Budara. That's what we were calling him, and that's what he was calling himself. But if you asked him what his original name was, Abdallah. So for us, we say Budara.
Would you honor me by giving me an Africanized version of my name then?
What's your name?
It's Rajan.
Rajana.
So from now on, it has been decreed by the head of state, everybody shall call me Rajana.
So singer. Was, I don't know how they corrupted Sikh.
Singh, so it would be Singh as a surname, so it'll be Rajani Singer.
Aha.
I am now officially Ugandan.
Very good.
And if anybody argues, we have TV footage for that as well.
Very good.